Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Copeland, the program director for Asclepius Holistic College. We are located everywhere because we're online, and I love that. It's taken me 12 years or something to get to that place. So please enjoy this work. It's going to be archived for many years, I hope, allowing future holistic students and people with lifetime learning drives to learn new holistic techniques and ways that they can self-help, self-love, and self-care for themselves, activate their own inner healer, and be able to be more sovereign, more at peace, more free from what some would call the toxic medical community out there. You know, they give you a pill, and then along with that pill or prescription comes 10 more symptoms. So, you know, it becomes a rat race or just a toxic cycle. And yes, this is Zeus, the great Zeus Houdini Copeland. And he is our little mascot for the college right now, a little spirit guide. I think he's my grandmother reincarnated. So say hi, Grandma. He's just a sweet little love project. Anyway, today I'm going to talk a little bit about some guidelines for empaths and people with sensitive tummies and eaters who want to be more healthy, more spiritually dialed in, more sensitive to the frequencies, and able, maybe if you're a channeler or somebody who just wants to have a better relationship with the Holy Spirit, your higher self, your spirit guides, you know, I call them the heavenly realms, the spiritual realms. This is a guideline to help you attune better to those fine or higher frequencies. We all have access to that, but sometimes our instrument, our body, has to be tuned into that. And so we literally have to relinquish our attachments to toxicity. And I know that sounds oversimplified, but that's how I and thousands of other people that I've helped have become capable of hearing the voice of God. Most of these people are artists. Most of these people are in the healing professions, holistic in nature. And most of these people have had some kind of near-death experience or prerequisite to knowing that there are higher realms of existence that they can dial into or tune into, and they can do that through diet and through purification. I think purification, there's several veins of thought out there about that. I was a Dr. Bernard Jensen colon hydrotherapy guru student for way too many years, but I loved it. I still do it. It's saved my life over and over again. As many of you know, I've had doctors tell me that if I hadn't done what I did and detoxed myself so thoroughly and completely for many, many years, I wouldn't be alive. And I do think that detoxing is important, but detoxing starts today. Detoxing starts by relinquishing toxicity and your attachment to toxicity. You going to tell me a secret? He tells me secrets. So one of the very first ways we can detox is through our breath. When we exhale, we are releasing carbon dioxide. And so breathing out stress, breathing out toxic, panicked, angry moments, we're accessing that our jugular, our ability to purify our blood when we breathe out. Okay, so breathing, number one. I also think that keeping some kind of meditation cushion or chair or a place that you can go to before you feel. I used to have in my bed and breakfast, I called it my prayer chair. So there are times when you just become overwhelmed with the need for ice cream, regular ice cream, or overwhelmed with the need for chocolate cake, or overwhelmed with the need for me, it was French dessert. So before you go to the refrigerator and open the door, which in my house it's not even allowed, so it wouldn't be in there if I had to have it. I'd have to do an exceptional amount of due diligence to drive miles and miles to acquire anything toxic now. But when I first started out, I remember those days very clearly because I lived in a house that other people indulged in toxic eating. To me, it's toxic. Okay, I'm allergic to neurotoxins. I'm allergic to dairy. I'm allergic to glutens. I'm allergic definitely to corn and other things, chemicals and mold, shrimp. I have my things, right? And so not indulging or participating in eating or ingesting those types of things was how I began to detoxify my body. I also did a lot of colonics back in the day. Once a month, I would have a juice cleanse. I would, from Friday night until Monday morning, nothing but juice. Organic juices that I made in my kitchen. No one brought them to me. I didn't go buy something pre-made. So, I did the work to do that. The third thing that I would recommend is also always limiting your sugar intake, but completely eliminating all high fructose corn syrup. I just think that's one of the most evil, deadly, carcinogenic ingredients on the planet. But that's my personal opinion. It's not backed up by too much science. However, you can do some research and you can find it out there. So, but always limit that sugar. I myself have switched to an organic stevia with monk fruit in it, and it satisfies me completely. So I do still like a sweet tea. I was raised by a Southern grandma, so sweet tea just sort of seems to be one of those things. And I, being raised by a Southern grandma, you have sugar in everything, which I think is why she died in her mid-60s. But I've switched to the stevia with the monk fruit in it. It's a sweet leaf, and I genuinely love it and find it thoroughly. It might take you a little bit to get used to it, but I don't recommend the artificial sweeteners. He wants his love this morning. He hasn't had his love as much as he needs yet. So, also, fourth thing I would recommend is that when you feel your energy dropping, when you feel yourself sagging or needing a nap, that you have a little protein snack. If you're able to tolerate nuts, that's my go-to choice. I eat a lot of macadamia nuts. I eat a lot of cashews. I eat a lot of pumpkin seeds, pistachios. I'm looking around the room to see what I have handy. Occasionally I'll have a peanut, but almonds occasionally. They have and it's usually just a handful, but that type of food or protein is my go-to choice for when my energy drops. In a lot of Buddhist practice, we call that the Sata Guru. You have the Uppa Guru, a lot of vegetarian dishes easily prepared raw fruits and vegetables, and then you have the Sataguru. So when you have achieved a level of peacefulness, confidence, awareness of your own divinity, awareness of your higher self, your ascended master teachings, your spirit guides, those are Sataguru states, and it's usually just nuts and fruit. And that is usually the majority of my diet. And so with that being said, frequent protein meals. Now, if you're still someone who eats fish or consumes even grass-fed products, those are not the highest recommended foods for empaths or for sensitive people on spiritual paths who are concerned about raising their vibrational frequency and their emotional patterns, because those animals are frequently killed within violent means, and it is said that we will absorb that level of emotional violence into our energy fields, into our aura. And so to abstain from that type of food is to raise our frequency higher and higher. So definitely meats that are killed under violent circumstances are not recommended, at least by me. If on the rare occasion I do have beef, it is grass-fed, it is killed by a farmer. I have my, it's a little more kosher. I have my ways, and you'll find yours, and I invite you to do that. But number 5, the most important thing is that you don't let your blood sugar drop, because when your blood sugar is dropping and getting really low, now if you're diabetic, then that's another story. But if your blood sugar gets too low, then your energy is not high. And the whole idea for an empath is to keep your energy and your frequency higher, not off the charts high. And I'm not talking about blood sugar high. I'm talking about your energy, your strength, your vitality, your ability to meet demands at a moment's notice, your ability to dial in your spiritual teachings and your spiritual guidance at any moment. Those are the things. Now, number 6 on this list is caffeine. Many of the colleagues that I've met, the spiritual community, they strictly limit caffeine as well as sugar. But caffeine is something that can cause you an artificial energy, which will drop you later. And so limiting caffeine intake is recommended for people who have sensitivities, empathic qualities, who are intuitives, who are on that spiritual path. I myself have 1 cup of coffee a day, some days, but no more. And it's usually diluted, and it's usually got a lot of almond milk in it. So with that being said, I think you understand the gist of that conversation. The main thing we need to do is eat for energy. So you're not going to be eating Pop-Tarts. You're not going to be eating grains. You're not going to be eating things with sugar and candy and snacks all day long, okay? You're going to be eating really solid, good, non-GMO, non-genetically modified organisms is what GMO means. And you're going to be eating food that is organically grown, vegetables, fruits, nuts, fish, those types of things are my favorites. So the impurities that are put into genetically modified foods, like every gene, if you have a wheat gene, seed, it is spliced with pesticides, fertilizers, and antibiotics. If you've got a hormone imbalance in your body, like diabetes or thyroid problems or infertility issues, you're looking at your antibiotics, because those things disrupt your hormone patterns. Pesticides and fertilizers, you're looking at cancers, you're looking at autoimmune illnesses. So just take yourself off all GMOs immediately if you can, and that alone raises your frequency. So natural foods, not boxed, not pre-made, but foods that are whole grown and organic and just simply delicious. I can bake some apples, put a little sugar or put a little cinnamon on it. Sometimes I'll use an organic brown sugar, rarely. That's one of the most delicious treats I've ever had. But I've been on this organic, gluten-free, dairy-free, grain-free diet for almost 8 years. And I tell you, my energy's been wonderful. I worked myself out of a wheelchair. I've lost so much weight. I've got more to go, but I'm at peace. And that's the most important thing, that I think a healthy diet, and when I mean healthy, I also mean spiritually healthy. I'm not consuming food that holds violence and toxicity. I'm also not eating food that is synthetically made or GMO'd. Okay, I'm not eating food that is neurotoxic, carcinogenic, foods that have been banned in other countries. I mean, come on. The divide is growing wider between the people who have consciousness around food and have very high standards, and the people who will just eat anything and anywhere. And they'll eat food that's consumed in unsanitary conditions. I have friends who are chefs, and they can see if the food temperature has been maintained, if the food has been cross-contaminated, if you're ordering a gluten-free product but it's in a kitchen that has all kinds of flour and everything going on. There are people watching you, chefs. There are people watching you. They care. And they're not going to be supporting you if you're that kind of cook and running that kind of restaurant, because the time is coming and the people are going to know that that's not okay. So if you want to stay in business, I would give you this warning. Upgrade your standards. Stop killing people. So what? Their taste buds are getting a moment of happiness. That isn't going to sustain their life form, and it's not going to sustain your business, because you're killing them off. Who's going to be there to order your crap food? I mean, seriously, guys, put some thought behind this. Anyway, okay, rant over. When we do consume food that is impure, let's call it toxic, neurotoxic, carcinogenic, what that actually does is it blocks the transmitters in our nervous systems that connect to the spiritual realms. We all have them. We all have an aura. We can feel, I'm not watching Zeus, but I can feel when he gets close. I can feel when someone's coming to the door or when they have arrived in my office. So with that being said, we have a nervous system that is beyond what's under the skin. Okay? And if you've ever been someone who hears somebody say something of truthful nature and you get the goose pimples on you, the Native Americans call that antelope medicine. My grandmother used to call that the confirmation of the Holy Spirit. We all get that. But we can become so toxic in our human body, the physical human body, that we're not attuned to that energy. And so by upgrading our ingredients that go into the body, we are building a stronger body that houses, that is the host of the presence of the Holy Spirit and our ability to communicate with higher realms of spiritual awareness. So, with that being said, don't block those receptor sites. Eat as pure and as high energy food as you can. And to me, that's always organic. To me, that's always something as loving as my little baby here. He gets a very good diet. He eats grain-free. He loves chicken. He thinks if he sees a chicken that mommy really loves him, and so he loves his chicken, but he only gets organic and he only gets gluten-free. I make him carrots. I make him little potatoes. He eats, what else do you eat? He loves his chicken, like I said. When we lived at the ocean, he loved tuna and salmon. He gets a little bit of potato. He used to have an addiction to French fries, but we since found out that they are usually fried in corn oil, and so we no longer eat those things, but he does still like his baked potato. So with all that being said, some of my next videos will talk to you about the ingredients, individual ingredients on labels that you can read and find to avoid in processed foods. And then I'm going to talk about 23 specific ingredients that are very toxic to avoid in the environment, in food, in your living situations. Okay, so stay tuned, and I bid you adieu and wish you well, and hope you are self-caring and self-loving and nurturing and respect yourself enough to avoid the toxicity on the planet and in the food and in your environment, even if it's your family and they make it with love, honey. They got to learn. That's what we're here to do. There's a greater divide in people who are learning and growing and raising their frequency. They're going to transcend so many things. But the people who aren't making any adjustments and indulging in the pollution and the greed, the corporate greed of some of this is astronomical to me. I that's a whole nother day of ranting. But with that being said, bring it up, raise your standards, keep your integrity high, and know that we're doing all of this for you to benefit, not just this year or this month or today, but for your lifetime and for your children's lifetimes. And that's in alignment with the missions and my soul purpose. So, mwah! Bye-bye.